The first game we got for you is Not Alone.
Designed by Ghislain Masson. Artist is Sébastien Caiveau, and it's published by, what is it? It's Geek Attitude Games.
Yep. Eric's gonna lay down the rules for us a little bit here.
Yeah, so it's a 2 to 7 player game. It's a asymmetrical one versus all. One player is going to play the creature. All the other players are going to play as the hunted. They're players or other humans that crash land on this planet. They're going to try to survive to get rescued. The creature is kind of going to hunt them and try to assimilate them into the planet. There is a board that you put out into the center, and it's a timeline where the hunted are on the left side, the creature is on the right side, and you are trying to get to a center point. The first person to or group that gets to that point will win the game. There is 10 areas or places that are put out. There are cards 1 through 5, and then 6 through 10 beneath those. All the players are going to get cards 1 through 5 corresponding to those different places. They won't start out with 6 through 10. They also start out with 3 will counters and 1 survival card. And those are cards that bend the rules or help them in a certain way. The hunted player gets these tokens that they're going to put out to try to capture them, and also they get 3 hunt cards, and they can play one of those cards at every phase, or not every phase, every round. So there's 4 phases in the game. During the first phase, all the hunted are going to play a card face down. During this phase, they can give up a will to get cards back. 1 will give you 2 cards back. 2 will give you 4 cards back, or you could give up. That will allow the creature to get closer to their objective, but you regain all your cards back. The second phase is the hunting phase, where the creature is going to determine where the hunted are going to go. They're going to put the token of a creature on one of the spaces. And then you go to the reckoning phase, where everybody turns over their cards. If you made it and you weren't caught, you get to do the power of the place, or you get to pick up a discarded card or a discarded place card that you were there previous. And then phase 4 is just discarding your place card, getting back your creature tokens, and then going up on the rescue track. And like I said, whoever makes it to a specific spot on that timeline wins the game.
Cool. That's a pretty decent explanation of it. Good job, Eric. I like it. What was I gonna say? I totally said all this and I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, Eric uses all like actual terms, and I just make stuff up for every game, and I don't do it service. So that's probably pretty good. Because I'm like, you go to this third phase. Eric's like, the reckoning phase. So, yeah. Anyway, you got this from George, right? Didn't you sell this at one point when
I did?
You
I picked it up. The reason I picked it up mostly is because we've grown in group size, so it plays up to 7.
Oh, gotcha. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this? Even though we're asking the guy who sold it.
Right.
I didn't like it well enough to keep it.
That's fair.
I think that it gets samey, and it was a bit too simple for my taste ultimately. Mm-hmm. But having said that, I think that it, as a filler game, it also runs a little long. Because
Oh, you think it runs long?
Well, no, it doesn't run long for what it... Well, okay. For what it is, it runs long for me because to me it feels like a micro game.
Like there's not a lot going on. You just do it over and over and over.
It doesn't feel like a filler.
It
feels
like Jorvik.
A micro game that runs long to me.
Gotcha.
It's kind of a weird thing. But okay, at the same time, it's easy to teach. It does a large group, and there's nothing objectionable about it. I just didn't want to keep it.
Mm-hmm. I could kind of feel you there. I would say that just because the place cards never change, they're always the same. Mm-hmm. I would say replayability factor at least would be limited because you're basically starting over and playing the same game. You might get some survivability cards or hunt cards come in a different order, that
right,
would
but there's
change-
not that many of them. We went through the decks as
Yeah,
we played it, so
right.
you'll see everything in one play.
Mhm.
Matt is pretty much going to say exactly what I think, so go ahead.
Say it, Matt.
I did not have fun. I mean, is that what you wanted to hear?
Well, okay, but maybe that was a little bit different, but
You all pretty much said it. It got a little bit better the more time we spent dealing.
Well, say at first, you only have 5 places to go,
right.
and if that, there's 6 other hunted players, there's a good chance, it feels like, that the creature is going to find somebody.
Yeah.
Although
At least on the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
Until people start getting more of those location cards.
Mm-hmm. Although I would say that there was quite a few rounds I played as a creature. I did not catch anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't catch me at all. I'm a boss. Bam. Not a single time.
Nice.
Yeah. All I did was piggyback off of everyone else's moves, though. Because the communication in the game is literally nothing.
Well,
Yes.
I would say
it is completely
there is-
lackluster.
That's a problem.
There is specific times where communication would be key
I mean, that's
to say, like,
you're
all
probably
right,
talking about that one incident.
well, a lot of times, say you're at the end game and you only need one more spot. Well, you can say, hey, some of us should go here and some of us should go here, or say that I only have one card left, so I'm going to spot number 2. So he's probably going to catch me at spot number 2 because that's, a guaranteed versus going somewhere else that you might catch somebody or not.
Yeah.
So that could let other players know that, hey, he's going to get me at 2, so don't be afraid to do what you do.
But
Right.
Yeah.
You can have certain moments where you could sort of try to double bluff by presenting what you might do just to try to make the other person
Mm-hmm. But I will say
overthink it.
It is
But
limited.
It's very limited. And
It's very
and There's a
limited.
lot of game of it should be a social deduction kind of bluffing game where you would imagine those kinds of games have a lot of communication,
Mhm.
but this one does not.
No.
Exactly. You want to talk about it, but all you can do is like game the system.
Right. And in this game, you can communicate, but you do have to openly communicate on whatever you say.
Yeah.
And you can't show your cards to anybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of what Matt said to me was the best. Like we started playing. I was like, really, really, this is a game. And then maybe like 4 or 5 rounds in, when people started getting new locations and they had different amounts or different locations that they've already played, so that you actually had, because Eric played the creature, you actually had choices. Be like, well, I don't really want to pick 7, even though I know like 2 people have the 7 card, because one person's already played it. It's
Right.
more beneficial for me to go on like 4 or 5 or something where everyone has that card available. So it's more than likely a better or an option. But if you pay attention to that, you can be like, well, that's probably what he's going to do, and then bluff the bluff and go to 7 anyway. But but again, it's like Werewolf, where people talk and you double bluff and bluff the bluff, and no one really has any idea. You just make a decision, and it
Definitely
happens.
guessing.
Yes.
I would say that. I mean, it's not a total guess because the places that people have been in the past. So those cards are splayed out in front of them.
Yeah.
So that, okay, he has his 3 out, he has his 3 out, and she has her 3 out. 3 is probably not going to be a place that I'm going to go visit because, only one person has a 3 left.
And the other players could kind of play off that sometimes also.
Right.
Because they could think, well, Eric's not going to mess with that because he's got a 1 in 5 chance that someone might go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Just based on players.
But ultimately, that double bluff idea isn't enough to carry a length.
Yeah, it's probably say 45 minutes.
See, I thought it
That's
was
a
about
lot.
an hour.
Yeah,
I thought we
45
played.
minutes to an hour.
I
long,
thought we played a little
I'll
longer than
say.
what it felt like it should have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was okay. I didn't think it was amazing. If it had more replayability, and actually it might be kind of interesting to play it with like 3 or 4 people, like a very small group. Have you played it with small?
I have, and what happens is when you play with a lot of people, a larger group, then the monster
Has an easier chance of hitting.
an easier chance. And if you play with fewer people, then the players have a much easier chance.
to start dodging them. It's harder
Yeah.
early game because it's well, I don't know. I guess
Well,
it'd be just as much early game, but late game it'd probably be easier to
It
not get caught.
seems like 4 to 5 players is the sweet spot.
How many do we have? Did we have 5?
I believe we had 5 or 6.
Oh, 6. We did it wrong. No, I was kidding. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to try with less, but yeah, I get it would be harder because it realistically it did balance kind of because when we played it, we came down to like
They were
needing
pretty
one
close.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But the overall experience was kind of it was fine. It wasn't
I mean, it was-
terrible.
Yeah, it was
But-
worth a play.
And it's always good that that you have games that support a large amount of people. It would have been nice if the social element was more.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if any expansions or anything expand on that, but
I'm not sure.
I think there is one card that replaces the 10 space artifact. Because in the base game,
yeah, but all it said was I don't think it said anything different. Like it's not gonna.
oh, it was different.
No, it's different, but is it gonna promote communication and stuff like that?
No, it's not
One
going to change.
card.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just one location different.
right.
Yeah,
It makes that location, I think, a little bit better than it is in the base game.
that's fair. But even if you get an expansion that gives you a second option for all 10 locations, it still has the issue with the communication where it's meh.
Sure.
It'd be cooler if there was a way or a reason to do all this communication or, whatever. Or maybe if you put your actions down in secret and then everybody else has to kind of deduce what you might do. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of the interesting thing about the hidden movement games is even though it's one versus the other team, you're kind of like, all right, well, in Spectre Ops, Eric's good at deducing like, yeah, I don't think he went over there because then he has to go here in this path. And, so you can kind of deduce what that person might do. This is kind of reverse where you're guessing at what the players are going to do. But I don't know. It's just meh. I guess I was talking in a circle just now, but
It has lovely art, but I don't think the theme comes through really in the gameplay. I mean, I like that there is the theme that you're on an alien world and it's like a predator situation, getting
Yeah.
hunted
No,
down.
that all was really neat too.
That's cool. But in terms of the game, like how it plays, I don't know. It's just
I don't feel like I'm going to the moonwalk or whatever it was and,
Right.
and moving this and
yeah.
right.
I'm just going to this card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which happens to be very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very pretty card. Yeah, you're right.
Well, cool. Any final thoughts then on Not Alone?
To be fair, I sold it for pretty cheap.
Matt,
I don't care to play it again. Trade it.
Eric?
Yeah, it was okay. It was worth trying out, but try before you buy.
That's fair. Yeah, I'll probably, if we had the time to play it with a smaller group of people, it'd be neat to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see it being something our group really cares to play. Or if you get an expansion, maybe, depending on what the expansion did.
Right.
So anyway, that is Not Alone.